So friends, on one hand, India has just become the world's #3 air power, and on the other hand, a massive strategic game has been played on the global stage. A bold move, and the game has turned completely in India's favor, because now the United Nations has only two choices left. Only two options. Either make India a permanent member of the UN Security Council immediately and hand over full veto power without delay, recognizing India as the new decisive global superpower, or face daily backlash, criticism, and outrage from India and dozens of India-supporting nations, and watch the UN crumble like a helpless bystander. Yes, my friends, the UN is now under open pressure, and this time the warning has been delivered by India's fearless and razor-sharp Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. Let's understand exactly what happened. Last year in 2024, India officially became Asia's third most powerful nation, a historic milestone. But recently, when the latest 2025 Global Military Power Index was analyzed, a shocking revelation exploded worldwide. India has officially overtaken China in air power strength and is now the third most powerful air force on Earth. The moment this news hit global defense circles, there was pride across India. But at the United Nations, panic bells started ringing, because the battle to grant India permanent UNSC membership and veto power was already heating up with the support of dozens of world nations. And now, after India's air power leap, the demand has turned unstoppable. Foreign Minister Jaishankar wasted no time. He delivered a direct, bold, and uncompromising ultimatum to the UN: either reform now or collapse. Either include India or lose global credibility. According to Jaishankar, the United Nations is still stuck in the mindset of 1945. The world today is not a World War II era. It is 2025. Geopolitics has completely changed. Power equations have reversed. New leaders have risen. And yet, UN Security Council still has only 5 permanent members with veto power: United States, Russia, United Kingdom, France, China, and India. The world's 4th largest economy, 3rd strongest military, and 3rd strongest air power, is not on the list. This is not just unfair. It is strategically dangerous, because veto power means one thing: if one permanent member says no, that proposal dies instantly. Even if the entire world is in favor, one veto can block everything. Right now, China can block decisions, America can block decisions, Russia, UK, France can block decisions, but India cannot stop anything, even if the proposal harms India directly. Is this acceptable for a nation that contributes the highest number of peacekeeping forces to the UN, protects global trade routes, stops terrorism worldwide, stabilizes the Indo-Pacific and Africa, and is becoming the backbone of world security? Absolutely not. Yes, today Russia supports India, and that protects India from hostile decisions. But Jaishankar made a massive geopolitical point. Friendships can change tomorrow. Nations must defend themselves on their own power, not on someone else's mercy. And this is why India must get veto power. Meanwhile, multiple nations have openly backed India. Brazil, full support Russia, strong support, reiterated multiple times South Africa, support France, support United States, public support for India, Germany, and Japan. Even China has partially supported India's membership, although it rejects Japan. Which proves one thing: India has become so powerful that even China cannot openly oppose its rise anymore. From BRICS to the G20, from Indo-Pacific to Africa, the world is now pivoting toward India, and the entire planet knows this. Without India at the table, the United Nations cannot function in the future. That is why today, all global attention is locked on New Delhi, because the demand is crystal clear. India must become a permanent UNSC member. India must receive veto power. The UN must reform now. So friends, this was today's mega update, built after deep research and global intelligence tracking. And before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe India should receive veto power immediately? And friends, one tiny request: if you want India's voice to echo across the world, if you want India's rise to never stop, then hit like and share this video to support this mission. Let the world know India has arrived, and India will not be ignored anymore. But friends, this story doesn't end here. In fact, this is just the beginning of the geopolitical earthquake that is about to shake the entire global system. Because the United Nations today is sitting on a ticking time bomb called India. Why? Because the UN is built on power distribution, not morality. And the power distribution of 1945 does not match the power reality of 2025. Back in 1945, the US dominated global economy, Europe ruled world politics, China was nowhere, India was under colonial rule. Today, America is strong but no longer uncontested. Europe's influence has sharply declined, China is economically slowing and losing trust globally, and India, the game changer, has risen from the shadows to become a central pole in world geopolitics. The global power map has been rewritten, but the UN refuses to update its operating system. India is done waiting. For decades, Indian diplomats use polite language like, "We hope the UN recognizes our contribution. We request the UN to consider the need for reform." But now the tone has changed. Now the message is clear, sharp, and loud. India will not beg. India will demand. India will not request. India will assert. India will not wait. India will lead. And this new Indian attitude is scaring the hell out of the old global power structure. Because the West and China know one terrifying geopolitical truth. Once India gets veto power, the world order will never be the same again. Imagine India with veto power. Every anti-India proposal dies instantly. Every pro-development project gets green-lighted. Global South finally gets a voice. Indo-Pacific security becomes India-led. China can no longer bully smaller nations. Radical terrorism cannot hide behind international politics. Oil-rich nations and tech-rich nations start aligning with India. That means the global leadership table will no longer be 5 chairs controlling the world, but 6 chairs. And the 6th chair will be India. That is the world order the current powers are terrified of. Let's break down the real fear. The US knows India's rise means a multipolar world, not a US-centric world. China knows that once India gets veto, Asian leadership shifts permanently to New Delhi. The UK fears losing strategic relevance. France supports India, but worries about losing comparative influence. Russia supports India, but wants India to stay friend, not competitor. Everyone wants India on their side. No one wants India independent and unstoppable. And that is why veto power is being delayed. But there is a limit to how long India can be sidelined, because India today is not the silent observer it once was. India is now a nuclear power, a space superpower, the 4th largest economy, soon 3rd, the 3rd strongest air force, the geopolitical bridge that connects East and West. And most importantly, India has global trust. Yes, for the first time in 75 years, the world trusts India more than any other big power. When America speaks, many nations doubt intentions. When Russia speaks, many nations fear consequences. When China speaks, many nations see aggression. When Europe speaks, many nations ignore. But when India speaks, the world listens. Why? Because India doesn't colonize. India doesn't invade. India doesn't threaten. India doesn't exploit. India protects. India stabilizes. India builds relationships. India solves crises. From evacuating citizens during wars, to delivering vaccines globally during pandemics, to maintaining peacekeeping forces in conflict zones, India has proven it is not just powerful, it is responsible and trustworthy. So why hasn't the UN changed? Because power hates sharing power. But this time, the pressure is reaching breaking point. BRICS nations are openly backing India. African Union refuses to support UN reforms without India's inclusion. Middle East nations want India as counterbalance to Western dominance. ASEAN countries want India to contain China. Latin America wants India for fair trade leadership. In short, the world wants India at the top table. Only the UN leadership is resisting. And here comes the plot twist. India is no longer limited to the diplomatic battlefield. India is expanding influence through BRICS expansion, India, Middle East, Europe, Economic Corridor, Quad, Security Alliance, Indo-Pacific Maritime Control, leadership in Global South,